Howdy, folks. Welcome to part 4. This is the final part of creating the sound for the audio drama, The Most Important Passover, created with the Audio Drama Alliance. Today, we're going to be looking at the backgrounds and sound design. The link is in the description. You can listen to it for free. Make sure to go check it out. This project was definitely pretty background heavy. There wasn't a whole ton of sound design. There was like one door that gets used twice and like a table that gets flipped over. That was basically all of the sound design that there was. Most of it came into backgrounds and Foley, but it's always fun to create a world, especially this is a period piece. So that does come with some challenges. I would try to make sure that all of my backgrounds didn't have any like vehicles or airplanes or modern tech of any sort in it. I did miss one that we caught later in the mix. I thought I had fixed the problem, but there was like a truck, and then I had like looped that background, and so you just kept hearing this like very slight low rumble, like truck rev up throughout the deal. But thankfully, we caught it. So this is for the first scene. This is probably the most layered background. It's supposed to be a big traveling scene, so I was trying to think through everything I wanted to hear. Some animals, some people, but it was kind of hard to find the right people to put in the background because it's period piece and you don't want to hear what they're saying, but you want to hear some kids and people moving around. So we'll just walk through some of the sounds for this first scene. Start off with this wagon here. And then I've got a stagecoach even. And some more wagon stuff down in this end. And then guess what? Another wagon. Some farm stuff for the animals. Birds in there. More birds, some more sheep, and then some kids. And there's another playground ambience here. And then some crowd sounds. With that movement in there to kind of hear, just the movement of a large crowd. Here's how it all sounds mixed together.
But Passover is special. On Passover, we remember the way we were delivered from the hand of the Egyptians, when the angel of death passed over our homes where we had placed the blood of a lamb on our door.
So you can hear how the perspective is mostly with the main character. And then, the backgrounds do as backgrounds do and just help support the scene and bring it all to life. So this is a really fun one. This is like an indoor scene. Someone's like teaching off to the side. And so you just wanted to hear like a little bit of presence, kind of like classic classroom, if you're in a church or some big building with lots of people, there's just this hum. Even if nobody's saying anything, there's just a little bit of like movement and things you hear. So that was kind of what I was going for this scene. Just wanted to hear the presence of people, but not necessarily hear them too much. So we have some room tone here. Just to give the air for the space. And then the guy who's teaching says some, scandalous things. And so you have some crowd murmurs that build. And then I did actually use some class studying quiet activity. Some auditorium stuff. Classic coughs. And then some more murmuring for that section where, you're hearing the scandalous things that it brings in. So here's the full mix.
It's Yeshua or the Pharisees.
But if anyone swears by
Listen to what he says about them.
He is bound by his oath. You blind fools! For which is greater, the gold or the temple that has made the gold sacred? Woe to—
So you can hear kind of how bringing those in as the focus gets turned from the main character to the person who's teaching, and kind of bringing in those the rest of the crowd and the rest of the space around them, and then pulling it back out in the sections where the main character's back the one in focus. So this part is an indoor scene, and she's cooking. So I built up a fire out of several elements. Some of the larger pops there, and then like more of the flame. Hear all those together. Then hear it in the mix here.
Like the bitter lives they lived as slaves. I have to boil an egg later. I don't really know why. When Moshe gets back, we'll roast the lamb and eat.
So another part of audio drama, most of the time scenes are transitioned between with a piece of music. In film, you can hard cut, crossfade, dissolve, whatever. It feels a little weird to go straight to silence and then back up into a scene. There's instances where we do that, but a lot of times there's a music cue that will come in, whether it's already been going through the scene, builds into like a transition piece and then into the next scene. So you can hear that here.
We'll eat and then sing a Hallel. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Passover is a great feast.
Well, it's the morning after our first Passover feast. Everything was wonderful.
Hey, watch it.
But this morning,
Going to silence can almost feel like a fade to black where it can pull you out of the story. You're just like, well, now nothing's there. Oh, now something's back again. So the piece helps carry over. Oftentimes you'll change tone through the middle of the music cue to help lead into how the mood of the next scene is. And yeah, music for this one was great. And then another one of my favorite scenes was the final scene. Just building out this nature space was a lot of fun. So we start here with, again, a little bit of crowd that dies down. Also use some of those crowd murmurs. The crowd is in anticipation of someone who is coming. So you just kind of want to hear that low excitement. So you have some wind and foliage, air, space, birds, insects and birds. And then I also added in a stream. So you can hear all of these together. I'm not going to play the full mix of that scene because you have to go listen to the full thing to be able to hear how it all ends. I'm not going to spoil that for you. So be sure to go check the link in the description to listen to it for free. Let's look at some of the sound design, more specific sound design moments now. So here is one of the doors. I did a little bit of research trying to understand maybe some of the technology and stuff that they would have had then, mainly whether they had metal or not. Some stuff might be metal from what I found. Sometimes the latches are metal. Most of the hinges were wood, which I didn't have a whole ton of like wood hinge doors, unfortunately. So I mixed a little bit of metal doors in there. But still overall, I think it sounds really good. It's not like a classic clanky door that I tend to want to sound design. One is something a little more subtle and just wood, soft sounding without all of the clank. Probably the biggest sound design moment is the table that gets flipped over. So this is more of the initial coins that are getting spilled and then the impact. And then all of the coins being spilt are more down in this one. You can see that I have quite a few sounds that are muted in this bit, and that leads very well into the lessons that I learned from this. More of something that I read while I was working on this project. There's a quote by Tim Nielsen, who works at Skywalker, and he was just talking about how sound is more about how little you can get away with versus having tons of tracks and tons of layers. Basically, your job is done when you've pulled everything out that you possibly can and only have what's there that you need. And so a lot of these muted tracks are kind of being like going through muting different things. Is that adding? Is that not? Do I like the sound? Do I not like that sound? And it's just something I'm trying to get better at. It's fun and easy to just throw tons of sounds at it, but that tends to just become noise, mud, white noise. And so being more specific and intentional with the specific sounds that you choose so that it doesn't just become a jumbled mess. Yeah, always fun to keep trying and growing with each project. So yeah, thanks for coming along for these videos. Hope you learned something about audio drama, some of the processes that go into it, specifically this one. I'm sure I'll change for the next one. Again, link is in the description if you want to listen to the full audio drama. It's free, and I'll catch you in the next video. If I can find them, oh, where are you?